Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Joe Taylor. This morning, another in the ongoing series of programs presented by the Regional Early Learning Resource Center. The program, through the Northwest Institute of Research, oversees a grant from the Office of Child Development and Early Learning at the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and the Department of Education. The goal of the program is to improve the outcomes for young children as they prepare for school. John Posa from the Early Learning Resource Center is the host of the program and is with us throughout the series. And he's with us right now, hopefully in better throat voice than I am. John, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. Welcome. This morning we want to welcome a good friend of mine, colleague, supervisor, boss from many years, Elana Como, who is the executive director of one of the state's early learning resource centers. This is based in Erie, and of course the early learning resource centers operate now under the Pennsylvania Office of Child Development and Early Learning. Welcome to the program, Elana.
Thank you, John. It's very exciting to be here this morning. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you so much. You know, we've been trying to get you on the program from day one, but I know you were a busy person, and we finally, and I think the timing is just right, having you on the program because lots has changed in the world of quality early learning. And one of the big things is that the former regional keys, of which the Region 1 Early Learning Resource Center was the Northwest Regional Key, there's been a whole change, hasn't there? Tell our listeners a little bit about what has actually taken place that started on July 1st.
Yes, very exciting times in the world of early learning. And over the course of the past year, we've gone through an amazing transformation where we've collaborated very, very closely with many partners around not only our former 19 counties of the region, which was once the Northwest Regional Key, but statewide partners have really been collaborating very closely under all of OCDEL's guidance to really formulate a new system of early care where we've created these one-stop shop hubs for families and for our provider community. So we've, in essence, integrated what was our former CCIS, Child Care Information Services systems, with our Regional Key Services system to have this nice one-stop shop for families and providers to receive their supports and resources from. So it's been very exciting over the past year. It has been, as you mentioned, a big transition. The dust is starting to settle, and our partners are really stepping up to help us with all activities around making sure we're doing the best for our families and helping them to access quality early learning services, and doing our best with our provider community to make sure they have the resources and supports that they need to provide quality activities for the children they're caring for.
You know, Elana, we had not too terribly long ago, Jackie Seiktich, who is the executive director for Region 2, which is basically has Clearfield County, Jefferson, Clarion, all the northern tier counties. And you have a unique partnership with Jackie and Region 2 because as the ELRCs were formed, the really neat thing was that Jackie, who had been operating CCIS in Clearfield, Jefferson, Clarion, now through the partnership with you and the Region 1 ELRC is having the quality component of the STARS working with the child care providers. That's actually being done as a joint venture, right, with people that were with the Northwest Key originally and now are with the ELRC.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It's very interesting. So you can't do this work alone. It does take a lot of expertise, and Jackie's organization has great expertise around all things associated with the Child Care Works program. And our former organization as the Northwest Regional Key, we had close to 15 years experience managing all of the quality operations and all of the quality supports that were supporting the provider community. So certainly two different sets of expertise that we've integrated into one fabulous system, and we definitely could not do it without great, solid collaboration and good partnerships. So we're excited to be working with Clearfield League on Social Services to support all of their quality needs within Region 2. And then we have multiple partners in Region 1 that we're collaborating with, where we have satellite offices located to continue having those boots on the ground in the front line in the communities where it's most convenient for families to receive those services. So although the hub for Early Learning Resource Center is in Erie County, we're still serving all of the families that are located within Crawford, Mercer, and Venango counties. So we have offices located there as well.
If I might, I have a question regarding the Child Care Works subsidy program, and the question is in the word works itself. Why the emphasis on work on the for the parent of the child having a job, even a part-time job, or the real prospect of a job in relationship to their child having the early learning experience and receiving the financial benefit of the program? Why the emphasis on the parent working or trying to work?
So it is working or training. So many of our families are in a variety of educational settings, and they're working through training programs, so they receive that funding as well. But you're right, there is a criteria with the Child Care Work system where we want to be supporting families who are either working or in training. And then there's other funding that families can access. For instance, the Pre-K Counts program, where families can access that funding for preschool opportunities for 3s and 4s, that the work requirement is not in place for that funding stream.
Why the emphasis, though, on the parent working? Why is that an important element of the subsidy program?
I think that's a great question, Joe. I'm not sure I know the answer, other than it's been a long-standing regulation that we've had from the federal level, that it's been a requirement of that funding stream.
Well, I think if I could, have a take on that, it's just that, the fact is everyone knows the cost of childcare isn't cheap, and so it's a very expensive proposition. But it's basically rewarding those families who work, who maybe can't afford to pay, who qualify for the subsidy because they cannot afford, based on their incomes, to pay for the cost of childcare themselves. It would be cost prohibitive. So it's basically saying, and it's an economic development issue because, this subsidy allows people to work while not having to worry so much about who's going to be taking care of their children while they're at work. So it's kind of it's a great program. It's helped so many families, and I think anyone will tell you that it's been a remarkable success story over the years for helping people when they really need it most, and it's mainly for those children.
Historically, when the funding began, it was really to support families to go to work and provide a safe place for their child while they were working. And it's kind of transformed over the years with the reauthorization of the funding stream in 2014 that we really are moving towards more of a focus on good developmental care for children. So it's not necessarily we want to help as many people work as possible. It's those who really need to work or their children having access to the best quality care possible.
Absolutely.
And thinking in terms of how that funding is affording the best care possible for those who are in the circumstance that they do have to work. Not all families, we know there's different economic levels. Not all families are in the position that they need to work, and perhaps one member of the family or another can afford to stay home. But in many cases, to make your household successful, it's necessary for one parent or both parents, or if you're a single parent, you need that additional assistance. And like John said, child care is super expensive, so parents really can't afford the full cost of quality care.
And the other beauty of it is that it's not discriminatory in any way, shape, or form,
Right.
because you can, a parent that qualifies for the child care work subsidy can still enroll their child in some of the best child care environments, the star 3s, the star 4s, so it's not discriminatory that way. And, all children deserve an equal start with all other children. So that's very, very important. But Elana, I want to tell you actually, I know this is going to air tomorrow, so it'll be after the fact, but you actually will be in Du Bois this evening, and you're involved, and I'm involved as well, now working for the ELRC again, in a project that really allows providers, or could allow providers, who have a difficult job to begin with in the work that they do in running a child care center or operation, in what's called a shared services project. Can you speak a little bit about how that's working, and a little bit of maybe about the group, the focus groups of interested providers, one of which you're meeting with in Du Bois tonight?
Yeah, so this is an exciting initiative that we're in the process of piloting. The pilot began in June, so we're still in the planning phases of where we want to go with next steps with the Shared Services Alliance. And the goal is that we're really supporting what the providers are identifying as their needs around our specific set of core values, where we want to make sure the directors within the facilities have a lot of support towards working on the important elements of their mission of their program, which is really serving children, serving families, ensuring they're doing that really well. We want to make sure every teacher within those early learning settings has a pedagogical leader, so a leader who is helping them be a really great teacher. And we want to make sure every child has a reflective teacher, that the teacher is planning high-quality activities and really thinking in terms of the unique needs of every child and helping every child achieve their unique potential. So that requires a lot of time and intensity around thinking in terms of how an early learning facility is managed, is administered. And oftentimes what we have seen is the director ends up working on all of these administrative tasks, and a lot of time is consumed with business practices, which takes away from the good work they could be doing in the classroom in supporting their teachers and in ultimately supporting the children and families. So the alliances are currently being piloted in Erie, in McCain County, in Jefferson County, in Du Bois, as well as in Crawford County. So we have these pilots going on. These very dedicated directors and leaders of early learning facilities have come together to really strategize as a community how they can unify to minimize some of the administrative burdens so they can spend more time where they need to, working in the front lines with their teachers and the children. So it's exciting. We're at the beginning stages, and they have come up with some really phenomenal and exciting new strategies. So we're super excited to see where the next phase of this planning for the pilot takes us. Exciting. And I'm excited that you're on board with us, John.
Oh my gosh, yes. anything that I could do to support providers. And really, I think the beauty of the Shared Services Alliance is that we're really empowering those providers, because they're the ones that will take ownership, and the more that they are willing and work together, I think that's the beauty of it. I think that once they realize it's their project and we're just there to provide the supports along the way, they'll be successful in the long run.
Elana, you're John's boss, right? And I just want to tell you, he does a great job.
He is phenomenal. Yeah. I was sad when he departed me, and I welcomed him back with open arms. So I'm so happy with it.
And I've been helping John with this program now, I think, for about 5 years. Yeah. A question just occurred to me, though, when you're talking about maybe standardizing business practices, and this is a very simplistic, kind of everyman kind of question, but looking from the outside, what kind of standardization is there in terms of what the curriculum or what is offered by the various providers? Do you see my question?
Really, okay. There is no standardization as far as the curriculum goes, as long as the elements within the curriculum are aligned to Pennsylvania's early learning standards. So as long as they align to the standards, if the program elects a faith-based curriculum, that's absolutely acceptable. If they want to utilize one of the more created curriculums, such as the creative curriculum or high scope curriculum, something that has already been published, they're welcome to utilize that as well. Many programs do homegrown curriculums and just ensure that all of the elements are aligned to Pennsylvania's early learning standards. So the sky really is the limit with that, as long as that all the activities are really developmentally appropriate. And Pennsylvania's early learning standards are really looking at what's appropriate for the infant population, the toddler population, our pre-K population, our kindergarten, our first, our second, our third grade. So it really builds a nice continuum into the elementary school years and into our secondary school years. So thinking of a nice cradle to career continuum for learning, that's the ultimate goal, is that, wherever children start on that continuum, we're really working to make sure they're successful in whatever future they determine for themselves.
Elana, one of the things that is obviously one of the more difficult tasks for child care providers is dealing with behavioral issues with children that occur. And there's been some direction that from both the state and the federal government on policies relating to inclusion of all children, and how to deal with the threat of having to suspend a child. Now, that's always been a very, very difficult topic. And that's one of the things that, is expected to be uniform in terms of policy. But can you tell our listeners maybe a little bit about what has changed regarding our direction on that?
Yes, so it's been encouraged, including every child in your program, regardless of the circumstances they are coming from, has always been encouraged within the program, within whether it's the funding stream for CCDBG or from the standards at the Octal level. We've always really encouraged this inclusive model. In saying that, we also know that children are coming from very difficult circumstances in some cases. Some are coming with very medically fragile needs. Some are coming with behavioral challenges. So thinking in terms of how we integrate all of our services together. So within our communities, we have many services to support all of those varying needs. So thinking in terms of making sure all children are included, no matter the setting they're in, whether it's an early learning setting or a school-age setting or a high school setting. How do we make sure all services are available to all families to really strengthen the system of support so that all children do have that feeling of, I belong here? Because at the end of the day, when we think about, those basic needs, everyone wants to have that feeling that, hey, people care about me here. I belong here. I'm okay. Whereas when children tend to be expelled or suspended, there is this feeling of, I'm not wanted. I don't belong there. And we know those feelings can create even more harmful behaviors as children age and move into adulthood. We can see even more problems when that happens. So thinking in terms of these policies, really supporting that importance of community is unity, and we really want children to feel a part of their community, and no one is going to feel a part of the community if they're being suspended or expelled out of the system. So thinking in terms of how we really all collaborate well together to make sure all children feel like they have a place where they belong is kind of that ultimate 300,000-foot look at these policies. And, of course, there's a lot of details that go into actually making that vision happen. And I won't even underestimate the amount of work that's involved in it or the resources that are being put towards making sure that happens. Because on the other side of the coin, all families want to make sure their children are safe, too.
Right.
So they want to be in the safest environment possible. So it is a lot of work to make that happen.
And the beauty of this whole policy and guidance is that part of the whole structure of the early learning resource centers is that, hate to use the old cliche, but it takes a village, but it literally does, because it involves the input of other specialists who work with child care providers, from early intervention folks to specialists that actually work for the ELRCs or provide technical assistance, to the IUs, and the families and the parents themselves, because they know their child best. And so actually when all of those folks are on board and working towards a common goal, you're going to come, hopefully to a positive result in the end when you deal with these issues. We only have a minute left, Elana.
Okay.
Tell us what's the next most exciting thing happening down the road for the ELRCs.
So as we're talking families and everyone wants to see our families thrive, we are about to launch some very exciting activities around family engagement. So we'll be gearing up with our internal staff first over the course of the next couple months, with then the hope that we'll be doing some really exciting family engagement work within all of the communities that we're serving. So it's going to be an exciting year. We're really looking forward to it. Both the provider and the family community have been absolutely tremendous as we've made this transition. So we just really are looking forward to continuing all of the areas of support and assistance that we can provide to both of those groups as we move forward.
Fantastic. Elana Como, always a pleasure. We got to have you back more often. Executive Director of the Early Learning Resource Center in Region 1. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
That's our program for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks at this same time. In the meantime, you can go online to learn more at papromiseforchildren.com. For John Posa and the Early Learning Resource Center, I'm Joe Taylor. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.